Awesome. Well, welcome everyone. It is great to see your names popping up in the participant list. I see Lewis and Clark, Public Health. I see Robin. I see Carrie Pride, and then I know Erin's going to be participating also as a participant. And then we also have Jane and Sharon here. So we're all going to be interacting in this session. It is a very interactive session, so I encourage you to just be aware of that, and I'll go into a little bit more about what that might entail in a minute. But first off, I want to go ahead and get started. You can see here, we're going to be talking about better conversations. And one of the reasons that we really wanted to delve into this content for the webinar series is because we heard from all of you that the relationships that you were beginning to develop with each other when we were together in July were very nourishing. You got a lot out of those relationships, and leveraging that peer network would be of value to you. So the Better Conversations Every Day series that we're going to be conducting will help you hone in on some of those peer coaching skills. So, and we'll be talking a little bit more about that as the hour progresses. But this is all intended to give you some micro skills that are absolutely essential in leadership, and for you to then be able to apply those skills to working with each other, to your health departments, and literally every relationship in your life, because we all can use better conversations every day. So one thing that I also just wanted to kind of put in your thoughts as we're starting this is that we're going to go through a bunch of different exercises over the course of these webinars, and these are all things that you can transfer back also to your team. So things you can take back and practice with your teams as well. So just kind of think about that as you're going through the experience as well. And one of the critical things that we have found in rolling out this Better Conversations everyday content to thousands of people all over the world is that when people start to have better conversations in their organizations, cultures change. And so thinking about having better conversations to create better cultures is another way that we're going to be talking about this as well. So I'm going to start with just a quick story about how I have been able to apply this very specifically to my life. I think I may have told you back when we were together in July, I have a teenager. I have a teenage daughter. She's now 15. And at the time I was going through this training, I had an absolute aha moment with her. She came into my bedroom, as kids often do, around 10 o'clock and want to have like really serious conversation right before bedtime. And so she was talking to me about something that happened in school that day, and actually was a recurring instance. She said, Mom, there's this kid in my Spanish class. Every single day, he comes to school high. He smokes pot every morning before he comes to school, and he just lays his head down, and it's 8:15 in the morning, first period. And she's kind of put that out there. And so my immediate reaction was to start to think, oh my gosh, I need to warn her about drugs. Oh my gosh, I need to, have this really serious conversation. I need to go over the rules in our family. I need to, go through all this stuff. But something kind of clicked in my head, and I said, you know what? She's not done talking. I really, really need to flip the switch here and listen. I really need to listen to what is important to her, what's underneath this for her. And so instead of doing that, I just said, you know, tell me more about that. And then she just started talking more about it. And it really changed the dynamic of not only that conversation, but our future conversations as well. And that's really hard with a teenager. It's really hard to, you know, step back and really listen, especially, you know, as a parent where you want to, you know, reinforce all of the things that are important, warn them about, you know, unsafe situations, all that kind of stuff. But in that moment, that 2 minutes that I gave her to further her conversation without me judging was huge in our relationship. So that moment of insight really like flipped the switch for me. And I've been able to see such different results now in our relationship. And she notices when I don't do that. She notices when I jump to conclusions now and can call me on it sometimes too, which I appreciate. So as we're getting started, I want to orient you to a couple things on the Zoom interface that will be helpful as we're going through this. One is in the participant panel, you'll see that in the participant panel, if you have that pulled up, there's a button where you can raise your hand. So I'm going to ask you all a question, and I'd like you to practice using that raise hand button. So my first question is, I want you to think about all the conversations you've had over the course of the last year, and raise your hand if you'd like a do-over with any of those conversations. Raise your hand if you'd like a do-over.
This is Robin. I don't see the raise hand button. View options.
Okay. Yeah, another option would be just to type in the chat, yes, or hallelujah, amen, whatever. Just type in the chat button as well. All right, so let's practice another one. Raise your hand if you've been avoiding having a difficult conversation that you really need to have. Yep. All right, and one more. Raise your hand if you'd like to have more effective conversations at work or at home. Awesome. All right, so we all have a really good reason to be here. We're all gonna, I think, learn a lot together. All right, so over the course of the next few months, we're going to be experiencing the Better Conversations Everyday content together. So this is a little bit of a roadmap. I'm going to circle back to this at the end as well, but you can see we're going to kind of set everything up today, talk about what we're going to be doing with our time together, why this is important, and we're going to just talk about what might be possible. And then each month, starting in January, we're going to dive into one of these micro skills. So you can see here, January, February, March, April are going to be really devoted to some practicing of some very specific micro skills. And then in May, we're going to tie it all together and talk about how we can take these behaviors and move them forward. Okay, a couple quick things about how to get the most out of our time together. So just like when we were together face-to-face in July, you know, you get what you put in. You get out what you put in. So we expect 100% participation. This is going to be different than other webinars that you might have experienced. You're going to be interacting with those that are on the phone. And so these conversations are going to build on each other. So we would encourage you to commit the time that you have on your calendar for yourself and for your peers to really be able to work together on these key leadership behaviors. And again, being mentally present as well as physically present is really important. We're going to ask you to get curious. Just having that, again, beginner's mind where you can kind of question yourself, what can I learn today that will help me improve my interactions with others? Instead of, sitting back and thinking that you might know all of this already. Go ahead and get curious. And in that same vein, take some risks. This is all an opportunity for you to practice and do things that you might not normally do. So we know the biggest enemy of our learning is our need to look good and perform well. And this is your opportunity to really just try something new on and take a couple risks without judgment. Again, a couple of logistics. That participant panel you can see, we will be monitoring the chat as well. And you can see that Sharon and Aaron and I have our video on. And this is really to encourage you for future sessions, if you are at all able to add the video component to your desktop, or if you have a video that you can turn on, when we're going to be practicing these behaviors, for you to be able to see both the verbal and nonverbal is just going to be very, very helpful. So if you don't have it, we certainly understand, but if you do have it, we encourage you to use it. And again, just like when we were together in person, if you can put your phone on silent and out of sight so it does not distract us. We know distractions are incredibly impeding to good conversation. So this is another chance to go ahead and be fully present and put that phone away. All right, so before we get going, I'm gonna also give everyone a chance to just go ahead and speak up for a minute. I'm gonna go down the list, and when I call your name, if you could unmute yourself and just remind us your name, your role, and your location. Those three things: your name, your role, and your location. And I'm gonna go ahead and start with Alexis.
Hi, I'm Alexis. I'm the Public Health and Safety Division and Statewide Workforce Development Coordinator, and I'm located in Helena, Montana.
Great. Thanks for using your video. Good to see you. Erin, go ahead.
Hey there, Erin McGowan, Executive Director for AMFO, and I am located in downtown Helena.
Is Jen on?
I have terrible Wi-Fi. Can you see me?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, so I'm going to turn it on and off until I can figure this out. Because I got your message, Erin, about video just a couple minutes ago. So, Jen McCauley, Public Health Manager in Libby.
Great. Thank you. And again, today is kind of like a practice run. So we understand there's video issues and all of that. You weren't aware. So just thinking forward to January and being able to add the video then would be great. Carrie, are you on?
Yep, so Carrie Pride, I'm in the Public Health and Safety Division, the Local and Tribal Support Coordinator and Public Health Veterinarian, and today I'm in Twin Bridges.
Great, thank you. And it looks like someone's logged in as Lewis and Clark Public Health.
So I'm Brenda Neiman. I'm with Lewis and Clark Public Health here in Helena.
And I'm Catherine Moore, and I'm also
Hi.
Helena, and I'm with Brenda.
Hi, great, thank you. And then Robin, I think you are on as well.
Yep, this is Robin. I'm the
public health nurse director in Shelby in Toole County, Montana. And either next time I have to use my cell phone, I can make the video work, or do some office reconfiguring and can figure it out, but it's not going to happen right now. So
I got it. Yep.
next
Great.
time.
Awesome. Well, thank you all. And I really appreciate you thinking about this for the next time, because I think that'll just make your experience better. Okay, so we're going to do, go ahead.
This is Jane. I just wanted to say hi as well. And
Great.
yeah, because I do plan to participate in all of these, and apologize for every once in a while my camera just quits and I have to reboot, but it was too late to do that today. So sorry about that. And I'm just helping Erin with the logistics on this project. So thanks.
Thanks, Jane. Okay, so we're going to do an activity, and this is going to require everyone to be looking at a screen. So if you can't look at a screen, if you wouldn't mind raising your hand, and we'll try to figure something out. But this does require some interaction with the slide. So okay, so we're going to spend just a minute or two here talking about what it might look like if we had better conversations every day. So this sort of so what of all of this. And I want you to think about what your world would look like if you were having better conversations every day. So just think about that for a minute. And then I'm going to transition to the next slide. And on this slide, there are going to be a series of random images. So these are just images. They're just pictures that can help provide a prompt or a connection that will help you kind of connect to the question, why are better conversations important to you? So when I flash up the slide, go ahead and just look at the slide for a minute and hone in on that picture that connects with you around why are better conversations important to you. If you don't immediately see one, or you maybe have an image in mind that isn't there, just kind of go with your gut, go with your instinct, what maybe that picture maybe is jumping out to you, maybe for a reason we don't understand yet. So we're going to just take a minute to do that, and then we're going to share those. If you have an image selected, go ahead and either raise your hand on the participant screen, or you can type in yes in the chat. All right, great. It looks like everyone has selected an image. So what I'm going to do is we're going to share these in a pretty specific way, and I'm going to demonstrate that, and then I'm going to ask each of you to share your image and how it connects to why better conversations are important to you. So I picked this image, and this is how we're going to do it. You're going to tell me the image, and I'm going to flash it up here and kind of make it bigger, so everybody can see kind of a really good view of the image that you selected. And then we're going to share it in 3 specific ways. One is we're going to simply describe what you see in the picture, very descriptive. And then we're going to connect it to that question. So how does it illustrate why better conversations are important to you? And then you're going to ask others for their input. So we don't really have time for every single person to offer input, but if you see something in an image that somebody else has selected, go ahead and offer that, connection that you see as well. And it is absolutely okay if more than one person selects the same image. That is no problem at all, and we'll gain, I think, additional insights if that actually happens. So, okay, so I'm going to start, and I selected this image. You can see here there is sort of what looks like some stars. It's a very, I think, mystical image. There's sort of this earth part over here where there's the sun and tree and landscape. And then there's this more maybe heavenly or celestial side over here on the left that includes, maybe some different imagery. And this person seems to be kind of peeking through this screen, and for some reason they're able to kind of bridge those 2 worlds. And the reason that I kind of I'm always drawn to this picture, but particularly with this question, is that I really think having better conversations will help me understand kind of what is maybe behind what's going on inside another person. So being able to better, more deeply see things from others' perspectives is very important to me, and I think it helps me do my work better. So that's really why I was drawn to this image, and why I think it connects around having better conversations every day. So now what I'll do is I'll just ask if there's anybody who would have anything to add to my image, anything that you see in there that you notice as well.
This is Erin. What I noticed about this picture is sort of looks like this person is almost sort of stuck between 2 different worlds or something. And you can see that he or she is like reaching for something almost. So not really sure what that means, but sort of looks like he or she's trying to get into that other world, but maybe is stuck.
I kind of, Alexis, nice. I kind of had that same idea, but thinking like maybe better conversations help keep you grounded in, your own space, in your own world, in your own field. Allows you to still explore those options, but keeps you where you're supposed to be.
Excellent. Well, thank you both. All right, so now I'm going to ask for somebody to go first.
This is Carrie. I can go first.
All right, thanks, Carrie. Which image did you select?
The two people fishing right below your cursor.
Awesome. Okay, so go ahead and start out, just describe it, and then tell us how it connects for you.
Well, to me, some of the best conversations I've had with people, whether it be friends, family, or people I don't know, have been out in the mountains when you're just enjoying life, disconnected from technology, and you can have true, honest conversations that are not, you're not full of life's distractions. And so I see kind of peace and calmness in this as well, and kind of a space where you can just have those conversations, I guess, and be outside the hustle bustle of the world.
Thank you. Anything that anybody else sees that connects for you?
So this is Jen, and this was the photo I chose as well. And part of that is, first, can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely.
Okay,
Thanks,
excellent.
Jen.
So this is kind of strange, but I take it back to love languages, and mine is quality time. And when I have that level of quality time, it's an opportune time, again, whether you're speaking to a friend, a coworker, and a stranger, that is the time to connect.
Thank you. Okay, great. You guys are doing awesome with this virtually. I'm going to flip back here and ask for somebody who hasn't gone to volunteer.
Hi, this is Kathy. Can you hear me? No, because it's not me.
Hi, yes, we can. Thank you. Which one did you select?
I like the one with the ship on the ocean.
This one?
Yes.
Okay, great. All right. So tell us about that image and why it connected for you, Kathy.
Well, I'm first of all very team oriented, and there's a team on that ship. And we always encounter in life or at work things that come up that seem like they're storms, like you're lost at sea. And you can see in this picture that these people are working to right their ship, to hold on to their course and to move toward their goals. And so I really think that without being able to talk to one another and resolve problems that come up as the ship is being thrown around, they wouldn't be able to get where they needed to go. So I really think it shows how having a clear and strong conversation and an honest conversation can literally save your life.
Alexis, I chose that.
Thank you.
As well. And just to add to that, I think, pretty much spot on with what I was thinking about this image, but another piece was trust. And I think that's huge to, better conversations and building teamwork and all of that is, there's in this, in this image, they're trusting that if they all do their jobs and they're all knowing they can rely on each other, that they'll weather any storm and get through.
Thank you. Anyone else have anything that they'd like to connect to this image? Right. So is there somebody else who's ready to select to go next?
And this is
is Brenda.
Hi, Brenda.
Hi, and I actually selected the same image that you did, the upper left-hand corner.
Oh, this one.
Yeah.
Great. Let's put it back up there.
And I should have just jumped in when you were
That's okay.
describing. But what I see in this is a healthy and happy and safe and a peaceful world. And I also noticed the kind of the separation between one world and another. And the person looks curious, and it's that curiosity that helps us to reach that kind of euphoric, peaceful, healthy stage or place. And so that's what I thought of when I saw this image, was that curiosity helps us to get where we want to be, as far as in that most ideal state.
Nice. Thank you. Okay, Robin, are you there? Do you have an image that you selected?
Yeah, so I picked the tractor on the bottom left.
Okay.
And I think it like melds into my personal life, but also Shelby is in a real rural agricultural orientated place in the state. So a lot of our livelihood and a lot of my clients' livelihoods revolve around agriculture. So when I see this picture, I see, like maybe a mid-aged man in his tractor, and it's hard to tell exactly what he's doing. My guess is he's washing the lettuce, because I don't see a tank of herbicide or anything there. But he could be doing a million things. But I think for public health, agriculture, and the food we put into our body kind of stems into our maybe our health as we grow up. And yesterday I listened to the suicide prevention in rural communities, specifically in farmers. So without effective communication, and it's maybe a harder population to communicate to in some aspects. So effective communication ultimately results in saving people's lives, because farmers and suicide rates have a high correlation, I guess, or if you choose that occupation, you're more apt to commit suicide than some others. And that hits home for a lot of us here in Shelby. And it's not something we've ever delved into, really, like pushing and communicating or getting that message out. And I think it's something that I need to work harder towards. So I don't know. It's an important piece of communication. So.
Thank you. Does anyone have anything to add to connect to this picture? When I saw it, I'm like, it takes work. Having better conversations does take work. It takes intentionality and hard work. So to not shy away from that was something I saw in this picture as well.
This is Sharon. One thing that I saw is particularly the caution triangle on the back, and how often we sometimes see those caution signs when we're trying to do better communication, and that may stop us. And I'm reminded that it's actually a caution sign, but not a stop sign.
Nice. All right, great. And Sharon, I'm going to go ahead and invite you too to, do you have a picture that you selected?
Sure. I loved doing this, so I chose the child balancing on the bike.
And this one.
Yes, yeah.
Yeah.
often when you pick these pictures, it's hard to pick the one, but this one rang true for me in terms of better conversations being about curiosity and taking the risk. And sometimes you got to stretch yourself, but that it's also about balance. So I saw this child kind of balancing on this bike, yet taking the stretch to really understand or have another perspective. To get to a different place, you have a different perspective.
Thank you. Anything else anyone would connect to that? It's really a nice summary.
Sharon, I think you mentioned this as part of your analysis, but I saw, that curiosity of what she's checking out there, and how curiosity is really an important, facet in terms of effectively communicating. Maybe you're curious about what someone else really has to say, and you're going to really pay attention as a result to find out where they're getting at. I also really like the color composition in that, and so all the colors kind of working together. I'm not sure how that fits in.
It's aesthetically very pleasing, right?
I would
so
add,
Erin, do you want to? Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
I was going to say, that there's something about not just curiosity, but that innocence of a child to ask the right questions.
Yes. Nice. Okay. Erin, did you have an image that you had selected?
Sure. Yeah, you bet.
I'm going to get you and Jane.
I sort of chose the image without thinking about the conversation piece, but I've been thinking about that now as we've rolled through. But I chose the wave there that you've got
this one.
Yeah. And I chose that honestly because it made me think of where I was 2 months ago, not even 2 months ago, and that was in Kauai, and enjoying the waves. I didn't really see that wave is overtaking what looks like is overtaking a shipper, right? Is that what that is? And so it looks like not necessarily a calming wave like what I was used to back in Hawaii, right? And so what I've been thinking about is that it's really important in communication to know your audience, and in that particular sense, it looks like it's pretty tumultuous, and that wave is raging. Sometimes I think you need to be careful about when and how you approach certain conversations. And so just keeping that in mind. Now might not be the right time, for example, to have a meaningful conversation, given the kind of, like I said, tumultuous state that wave is in. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it might take persistence too, is kind of what I also take away from that. It might take some persistence
absolutely
to get. All right, and Jane, I'm gonna ask you as well, which image you selected.
I actually selected the same one that Erin did. And
oh, great.
Yeah, I really love this style of art, this kind of Asian inspired, I don't know, I like it. I'm drawn to this generally. But, I think that the most simplistic reason was just thinking about conversations and having better ones in terms of kind of smoothing out some of the waves and bumps that come along. But I also noticed the very kind of calm mountain in the background. And it just made me kind of think about how all of this, sort of the bumpy water and the calming kinds of experiences are all part of life. I also wasn't really sure what to do with that cloud that looks kind of like a spooky person almost up in the sky there.
Right.
I didn't know what to think of it, but mostly just thought about, you know, the nice opportunity that we have to learn how to take kind of difficult situations and turn them into maybe more effective relationships with this training. So that was kind of what was going through my mind.
Great, thank you. And thank you all. I think we heard from everybody. I really appreciate your participation. And I'll just check, did anybody not have a chance to share their image? Okay, great. So just thinking about that discussion, what are some of the themes that you all heard come forward from folks? You can definitely type in the chat if you'd like, or go ahead and unmute and talk. It's fine.
I heard a common theme of the human experience.
I heard curiosity come up several times as participants were describing their image. The importance of staying in that curious state.
Absolutely.
I think teamwork came up a few different times too.
Absolutely.
That's one that I remember.
Teamwork, curiosity. I heard, you know, some words that might mean, you know, taking some risks or stretching yourself, being persistent, hard work, those types of words. I also heard some people talk about questions, and that's going to be really important as we get into this as well. So thinking about how to ask powerful questions, and I think somebody connected it to the innocence of a child and kind of coming with that openness to the conversations as well. Great. Okay, so we know that having better conversations builds relationships and trust, and then relationships and trust make but conversations better. So it's this virtuous cycle, we like to say. And when we have those stronger relationships at work, we can be more productive. So I do this. Have you ever wasted time because you need to have an important conversation and you've ignored it and it's made things unproductive, right? We've all kind of been in that space. And we do that because it's hard and it's easier in our minds to avoid those difficult conversations. And then again, if you're only having difficult conversations, that's not where you want to be either. So what these sessions are going to be about are both, you know, having those difficult conversations, but also thinking about how to encourage each other, how to strengthen each other, how to celebrate each other's successes. And those simple things that you can do in almost every human interaction that you have, both at work and outside of work. And that means that we have to be vulnerable. And so many of you may know Brené Brown's work, and she repeatedly says vulnerability is the doorway to connection. If you don't have vulnerability, there's no connection. We also know that from CCL's own research that the most highly rated leaders. So thinking about some of the 360 databases that we have, where we have literally 50,000 leaders in that database, those that are most highly rated are also most effective at the 4 core behaviors that we're going to be talking about. So if this is one lever that you can really use to become even more effective leaders. From some other research that's out there, we know that characteristics of really effective teams are feeling safe, that whole psychological safety piece, that members of a team with higher levels of psychological safety will be more open to sharing ideas and taking risks. We all know the feeling of being in a meeting where you don't feel safe or you don't really feel like your idea will be heard. And that just shuts down lots of really amazing potential that we're not realizing. In addition, when we think about effective managers, they have some core behaviors too. The most effective managers are seen as great coaches. They're seen as strong communicators who ask questions, listen, and share information. And they're also seen as somebody who's interested in and expresses concern for team members and their well-being. So here are the 4 core behaviors that I mentioned. There's a nice acronym here that I think is pretty easy to remember. It's called LACE. And the first L here is for listen to understand. So we're going to be really practicing listening for facts, feelings, values, kind of going at that surface level, but then also going underneath that and what that, how that can help you be a better, more attentive listener. We're going to be talking about how to ask powerful questions, to learn about how, what, and why are really powerful ways to start questions and lead to openness. Challenge and support is the C. We're going to talk about how to communicate feedback in a way that is simple and non-judgmental, and also explore intent with people. So we know what the impact of their behavior may have, but we also want to explore the intent of their behavior. And then we're going to talk about why it's important to establish next steps and accountability. So how we can aim for some specific and shared commitments that will move that person forward in what they're trying to accomplish. Okay, so our final activity for today is I'd like you to think about somebody who's had a positive impact on your career. Just take a minute and think about somebody that has really had a positive impact on your career. So conversations can often fall into kind of 2 different camps. One is over here on the left, you can see is the directive conversations. And then we also have over on the right, the developmental conversations. Both are important, both have a time and a place. We can also think about directive conversations providing ideas and developmental conversations provoking ideas. So you can see they're kind of anchored in the behaviors of telling and the behaviors of asking. So I want you to think about that person that you were just thinking about who had a positive impact on your career. And in the chat function, type the behavior that if you were to stand underneath it or point to the one that you would point to for that person. All right, great. We've got a lot of people who've typed into the group chat. And let me just ask, if you look at that list, where are most of those behaviors? Which side of the arrow do they lean toward? Yeah, Carrie, thanks. The developmental side. So again, directive conversations definitely have a place, right? And then when we think about some of those people who have had really positive impacts on us, they tend to exhibit more of those developmental conversation behaviors. We're gonna do one more thing, and I want you to think about your least favorite leader and think about what behaviors they may have exhibited most often. Yeah, thanks. So I would say almost every single room that we're in where we show this continuum, that it is heavily weighted towards the positive, impactful people in our lives, really opening up to us to have those developmental conversations. And for many of us, that doesn't come naturally. And so that's why these 4 behaviors that you see down here on the developmental side, asking, listening, challenging thinking, and providing feedback, are really what we're going to be focusing on in this webinar series. Okay, so I'm going to bring us back one more time to where we're going from here, and then I'll stop for just a minute if anybody has any questions. So when we reconvene in January, we're going to take December off because it's often so busy. When we reconvene in January, we're going to be working through the listening to understand activities. And so again, these are going to be highly interactive, and if you are able to join by video, that would be great. I'll also say throughout this experience, you're going to be thinking about an actual challenge that you're currently facing. So we're going to be working through these activities. We're going to be supporting each other as we're going through the activities, and you're going to be able to really apply what you're learning right away through the experience. So just, get ready for January, and we'll make sure to remind you about all the different ways that we'd like you to interact. You don't need to do any prep at all, just show up, and then we'll transition into February, where we'll be talking about asking powerful questions, March, challenge and support with feedback, and then April, establish next steps and accountability. Thank you all so much for your attention and your presence. I could feel it all the way over here in North Carolina, so thank you so much. And if anybody has any questions, we have like 2 more minutes. We'd love, Sharon's on the line as well. We'd love to hear from you.
This is Jane. I just want to say thanks. I think that was really great, and I'm looking forward to the rest of these.
Same here. This is Erin. I've never been involved in a webinar that was interactive like that. And I think, I'm not sure what others would have to say about that, but I think it was really unique and just a great opportunity. So we'll make sure that the folks that weren't able to participate today can watch the playback and make sure to really get them to the table here this next time around. Thank you very much.
This is Sharon. Just a reminder, I think the exercise we just went through, you can take magazines, cut out pictures, and do this activity with your team. It might be a fun holiday way to, again, get people listening to each other, getting ideas shared.
Great. All right, thank you, everybody. I hope you all have very happy Thanksgiving, and I look forward to seeing you in January.
Thanks again. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Take care. Bye.
Andy, you look fabulous. I have you on full screen.
I think we lost Andy, but Jane, thank you for making this happen. And I know there's a lot of background work.
Yeah, we'll do better next time. It's really odd because I do another group. I've got these set up for twice a month, and I have them routinely set up so you don't need the host because they all want to get on when they want to get on. And the truth is, the way I typically set them up, you can use this anytime you want. You can actually use that link. So I'll try to get that fixed, and I'll certainly show up with my camera next time. So thanks. I thought it went really well. People seemed really pleased, and that was terrific. Thank you.
Great participation. Andy's excellent, as you well know.
Yeah. So, okay, we'll talk soon, okay?
Okay, take care. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.